Hello and welcome to Byron Borrow, where every game is worth playing. And, I've actually had to start thinking about what that means. I never actually addressed on this show what my core tenements for choosing that every game is worth playing. So, due to a recent discussion I had, I figured I would go over that real quick, just as a blanket statement. When I say every game is worth playing, that means that somebody will enjoy a game, whether I like it or not, and there will be enjoyment had somewhere in it. Now, for this qualification, I look at three very basic things. I look at the visual aesthetic and graphics. Do they blend well with the overall game? Are there any weird texture pops? Stuff like that. I look at the story. Does it progress well, and does it give a meaningful, well-rounded experience for everything? And then I look at the gameplay, which is how the game handles and controls and overall feels. And if I can't meet 2 out of 3 of those for being at least decent, then I don't talk about it. But there is a fourth rule, a very unwritten rule that I feel shouldn't need to be said, but I feel I have to now because... Go away, cutscene. In light of recent things, the story isn't all that important to something like this. It exists, and it's there, but it doesn't really matter, grand total. And that fourth unwritten rule is the game fun? And that is what really holds this core concept together. Is it fun? It's what keeps me from saying whether a game is better on PC or console, if it's garbage or not. Can I have some kind of fun with it? So, how much stronger does that have to be when one of the other elements is that much weaker? Well, that being said, let's review For Honor. Now, for those of you who don't know, For Honor is a medieval combat style game where you run around with swords and axes fighting other people with swords and axes. And as far as the unwritten fourth rule goes, it's pretty fun in an overall statement. Now, normally I would take a look at multiplayer mode, which is essentially a single-player mode, but load times can be a little iffy. Load times can be a little iffy in single-player as well, but the semantics. Now, I'm going to take a look at story mode because it's a much more controllable environment, because you can basically know exactly what you're going up against. Now let's go with the night chapter and just go over this. Now, in this story, you choose what you look like, and fair warning, you want to make sure you exactly want that, because once you pick it, you can't change it. And then you play through the knights, the Vikings, and the samurai. We'll explain that when we get actually into the story. And honestly, the single player in this does exactly what a single player in this kind of game should do, which is get you more accustomed to playing in the multiplayer environment. How the game works, how each character works, this and that. Now, as you can see from that little screen there are a lot of things you can get in this game. This was my knight that I made. He's pretty cool. You can choose between male and female in just about every class, as far as I've found. Now, there are parts, at least I know in the knight game, where you will have to play a very specific character from the story arc. And this story takes place over the course of, I want to say at the starting of this, it starts 12 years before, I guess, everything is set. And it's kind of a leading up to it. And we come to the load time. It's not awful, but it's not too great either. Now that being said, since we're going to get into story later, let's take a look at our visuals, which are really, really good. This is one of the few games that have gotten me really interested in a medieval setting. Mostly they go for a sword and sorcery type deal, Lord of the Rings. This one appears to have gone for more Game of Thrones-esque. Less on the sorcery, more on the sword, and it looks good. No one looks excessively over-armored like they would in something like World of Warcraft. It actually almost looks pretty darn period-specific. Well, as period-specific as you can for a group of people who were uprooted in a giant earthquake-esque thing, then spent the next 1,000 years fighting between knights, Vikings, and samurais. As far as I've encountered, there haven't really been any weird texture pops. And the only real complaint I have is when you get near an edge. I'll see if I can recreate it here. And even then, it's only when you're locking onto somebody. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Now, unfortunately, this tutorial happens no matter where you go. Not this one specifically, but the basic thing that says, hey, do this to do this, it pops up all over the game, and I haven't found a way to disable it. So come on. Starting to regret picking this story now. Okay. And there we go. There it is. And that's not going to do it, is it? Well, sometimes when you get backed into a corner or up against somewhere, you'll get this weird halo effect glaring around your screen, and it's kind of jarring looking. If it comes up, I'll point it out, although I really shouldn't have to, probably. Now, I guess that being said, let's move on to gameplay, which you're looking at it. Honestly, the gameplay flows really well. You basically have crossed Dynasty Warriors with, I'm not really sure the other version has a comparison. You basically hold areas off against guys like these. There'll be some that have more powerful variants, so you just gotta fight them off. You get various power-ups that help you do more stuff. And here's where the Dynasty Warriors deal comes in. You have your peasants that you just mow down like butter! In very, very brutal and graphic ways. That's right, run away from me. Run in terror, you fiends! Weirdest way to say fiends ever. Now, that being said, it unfortunately is kind of easy to hit some of your friends in the process, so more than a couple of times I've accidentally killed a few of my own guys. Completely by accident. Now, as you've seen, you basically want to try and not... Yeah, come on. You have to try and outmaneuver your opponent in the swords matches here. And I am not going to lie, this is a lot of fun doing this. Alright, where am I going now? Where am I going now? Ah, yes, and for those who like breaking stuff and collectibles, there's plenty of those in the level, and some of them are actually really well hidden.
That is how it is done.
Indeed I do! Now I shall slaughter the rest. That being said, as far as this goes, the actual slicing into the minions is kind of limited. By now you've seen all of the moveset that it does, which is actually kind of distressing the more I think about it. Good lord, he moves like they do. And cut it! And like I say, there is a lot to like about this game. I honestly really enjoy it. It has various quirks, though, which I brought up, one of them being the little halo that sometimes ensconces your vision, which can be distracting to say the least. Others... Yes!
No! Defend me!
Come on. Ow! Dick. Come on. There we go. Execution time. And the executions are a lot of fun and very brutal, so... Like I say, if you're wanting some Game of Thrones style action, this is probably the best way for you to get your murder on. And come on. Ow! Dick. Apart from that, gameplay is honestly really solid. There doesn't seem to be anything particularly wrong with it. You function well with the blocking. You have your 3 stages, up, left, and right. You can dodge and you can knock people out of a block. It's all pretty well simplified. That being said, I have the main problem with this when it comes to multiplayer. You have to rely on people. And unfortunately, this comes down to a team dynamic. If you're not working with a group of people that you can work well with, you're not going to have a good time. I thought that's what we were doing, but okay. Yes, but whose execution? Okay. So glad I don't get a say in this. But, like I say, nothing functions wrong with it. Now, that being said, I have come across some parts in the story where things have gotten kind of iffy, but nothing too bad. Very rarely do I feel like the game has become broken or is in some way not my fault for something going badly. Come on. And once you get the hang of it, it's pretty darn easy to get. Come on. Bastard. Also, if you... How? Now, there are some parts, like right there, where things just kind of go awkward, and it doesn't seem to register that I was blocking, even though I 100% was. Come on. I seem to remember beating this guy a little more handily, but... And you have two forms of execution, and now I'm really, really sad that I didn't try and do that more. The kicker is you have to stay locked on to them in order to do it. If you take your lock on off, you don't get your execution, and you don't get the extra health that comes back from doing said execution. Well, maybe you should have fought better. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Well, actually, my name's Todd, but... Oh. Sorry, I had to do that joke at least once. But, all in all, this is a really, really well-made game. It's really refreshing to see something new come out of a game's atmosphere that pretty much constantly tries to churn out the exact same thing over and over and over, and succeeds pretty damn well. Now, that being said, there are the microtransaction problems that... Well, they are a problem, I'm not gonna lie. They're kind of obnoxious and in your face, but everything is cosmetic at this point, so they're not necessary for victory. All it relies on is basically your skill versus their skill. And latency and your nat type, and look, there was a point I had before this, but the point is the game doesn't give you better weapons because you spent money. But all in all, For Honor is a really, really good experience if you're looking for a new type of game to play with friends, and if you have friends that you can rely on to play with online, this is definitely one worth looking up and checking out. Like I say, there are a couple of smaller grievances, but this game is 100% great in every other realm, virtually. The storyline, while not really necessary, does fill in a lot of blanks for how combat acts and how the different factions work. The multiplayer works. It's a little laggy and slow sometimes. Well, it's a little slow. I won't say laggy, but it's a little slow to load sometimes. But it's not bad, and we don't have the problem of it being a pay-to-win type deal like Call of Duty's gone to, where you get better guns because you spent more money. That being said, the only thing that I would really recommend staying away from this is if you don't have a lot of people to play with, or you have a bad connection, because this is definitely a game that requires you to have both friends, time, and connections to work well. Other than that, I 100% recommend you go out and buy this game. If not, rent it and check it out. It's definitely worth your time to play, no matter what you choose to do. That being said, we'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the little notification down at the bottom. I have really got to get better about saying all that. I keep forgetting. I'm still new to this. Thanks for coming down this road with me, guys. I hope to see you back here next time.